The universe was quiet, almost too quiet. The stars shone like cold eyes in the distance, watching but never speaking. Captain Ryan Hale sat alone inside his small ship, the Odyssey drifting through endless darkness. He had been lost for months, maybe more. Time had no meaning here. His food was almost gone, his ship's power was low, and his heart felt heavier than the void around him. Every day he sent distress calls to Earth, but no one ever answered, only silence came back, cold and cruel. He had begun to believe he would die out here, alone between the stars. Sometimes he looked out through the glass window, hoping to see another ship, another light, anything that proved he was not forgotten. But there was nothing, only the black sea of space stretching forever. Ryan leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. He tried not to think about his crew, the people he had lost when the Odyssey got separated from the fleet. He could still hear their voices in his dreams, calling for help, fading into static. The guilt stayed with him like a shadow he could not escape. Then one night the silence broke. A soft sound cracked through the static on his comm system. At first he thought it was just another piece of interference. He turned a few dials, half bored, half tired, expecting nothing, but then in a whisper, faint and trembling, filled the cabin. "Is anyone out there? Please, hold me." Ryan froze, his hand stopped moving. The voice was gentle, almost fragile. Like a dream breaking through the static, it was a woman's voice, not robotic, not mechanical, real, human, or almost human. He stared at the screen, shocked, his heartbeat quick and heavy. "Who is this?" he asked, his voice shaky. There was no answer, only the same whisper again, softer this time. "Please, hold me." Ryan's mind raced. No human signal had come from this region in years. Could it be a trick? Could it be a distress beacon? Or something else? He checked his radar, and a small, weak signal blinked on the edge of his scanner. A ship, or maybe debris, drifting not too far away. Curiosity mixed with fear. He should have ignored it, he knew that. But loneliness can be more dangerous than any enemy, and he could not let that voice fade away. He turned on his thrusters and guided the Odyssey toward the source. The ship groaned as the engines struggled to obey. Outside, a faint light shimmered in the darkness and broken metal, strange shapes, a wreck. Ryan squinted, trying to see more as he got closer. His screen showed strange alien symbols glowing faintly on the ship's side. This was not human technology. The hull looked alive, breathing, pulsing softly like the skin of some sleeping creature. He had never seen anything like it before. He whispered to himself, "What are you?" The voice came again, closer this time, clear and full of sorrow. "You came. I thought no one would hear me." Ryan's blood ran cold. He could feel something, a presence, like someone was standing right behind him. Though he was alone, he reached for his helmet and slowly put it on. "All right," he said quietly. "Let's find out who you are." The airlock hissed open as he connected his ship to the alien wreck. Darkness swallowed him the moment he stepped inside. His flashlight flickered across strange walls covered with silver veins that glowed faintly blue. The place smelled old, almost like dust and electricity mixed together. His boots echoed softly as he moved through the corridor. Every corner felt alive, the walls seemed to breathe. He could hear faint whispers, maybe the ship itself, maybe echoes of the voice that had called him. He followed the sound deeper and deeper. The temperature dropped, and mist hung in the air like a cold ghost. Then, in a small chamber filled with pale blue light, he saw her, a woman, or what looked like one, lying inside a glass pod. Her skin shimmered softly, glowing with the same blue hue as the walls. She looked peaceful, asleep, her face beautiful and strange. Long silver hair floated gently around her like mist in water. Ryan felt his breath catch. He stepped closer, unable to look away. There were wires connected to her body, small lights pulsing like heartbeats. He touched the glass, and then her eyes suddenly opened. Glowing bright white, the voice filled the room again. This time from her lips, "You shouldn't have come here." Before Ryan could move, the lights flickered wildly. The ship around him began to hum low and deep. Something moved in the shadows behind him. Something big, something alive. The air grew heavy. The whisper became a growl. Ryan turned, heart pounding, and the last thing he saw was a figure forming in the dark, rising like smoke, and then once again the universe fell silent. Darkness surrounded Ryan like a living thing. The air inside the alien ship was cold and heavy, almost wet. He could hear the deep humming of machines hidden behind the walls. Like a heartbeat, slow and powerful, the blue light pulsed softly, guiding him through the empty corridors that twisted like veins. It felt less like a ship and more like he was walking through the body of something alive. Ryan tried to stay calm. His flashlight beam cut through the mist, showing walls covered in alien markings. Long curved symbols that seemed to shift when he looked away. Behind him, his oxygen meter beeped quietly, reminding him that his time was running out. Still, he couldn't leave. The voice, her voice, had called him here. And now that he had seen her, he couldn't turn back. He walked deeper into the wreck, past shattered doors and broken panels. Every sound echoed, every step felt too loud. He reached the room where he had seen her. The glowing woman in the glass pod. The light from her body still flickered gently. Like the last flame of a dying candle, Ryan approached slowly, whispering to himself, "Who are you?" As he touched the glass again, the woman's eyes opened, glowing faintly with silver light. She looked straight at him, her lips trembling as she spoke. "You shouldn't have come here." Her voice was weak, like a memory fading into space. Ryan stepped back, his heart racing. "Who are you?" he asked again, his voice echoing in the hollow room. The woman blinked slowly, her expression full of pain and confusion. "I am Lyra," she whispered, "and you must leave before it wakes." "Before what wakes?" Ryan asked, but she didn't answer. The ground shook slightly beneath his boots. The hum inside the walls grew louder and deeper, angrier. Ryan looked around, realizing for the first time that the light wasn't just coming from the ship's systems. The walls themselves were glowing brighter, like veins carrying energy. Lyra's hand pressed against the glass. "Help me," she said softly, "please. I don't want to die here again." Her voice cracked, full of fear and something else. Loneliness. Ryan didn't understand what she meant, but something inside him told him to act. He found a control panel beside the pod, full of alien symbols and pulsing lines. He reached out and pressed the largest one that glowed. A hiss of air escaped, the glass lid lifted slowly, and cold mist poured out. Lyra gasped as if taking her first breath in centuries. Her body trembled, and light rippled across her skin like waves of silver water. Ryan reached forward, offering his hand. "It's okay," he said. "You're safe now." But Lyra didn't take his hand. Instead, she looked around the room, her eyes wide. "No," she whispered, "it's waking up." The hum turned into a roar, deep and shaking. Ryan spun around. The walls were moving, shifting like they were alive. A shadow stretched across the far end of the corridor, growing longer, darker. Something was crawling out of the ship's metal like liquid shadow taking form. Ryan grabbed Lyra's arm, pulling her close. "We have to go," he said firmly. She nodded, her movements weak but her eyes sharp. Together they ran through the narrow passage. The creature behind them screeched, a horrible metallic cry that echoed through the halls. The ship seemed to come alive around them, closing doors, sealing paths, trying to trap them. Lyra raised her hand and her body glowed brighter. A pulse of light shot out from her palm, and one of the doors blasted open. Ryan looked at her, stunned. "How did you do that?" he asked, panting. Lyra's voice was soft and sad. "Because this ship once obeyed me." They reached the connecting bridge that led to Ryan's ship. The door behind them slammed shut, the metal shaking under the force. Lyra stumbled, and Ryan caught her before she fell. Her skin was cold, glowing faintly under his gloves. He could feel her heartbeat, soft but real. The hum faded into silence, but the danger wasn't over. As Ryan turned to look at her, Lyra's eyes met his. For a moment, time seemed to stop. "Two strangers, two survivors, and alone in the emptiness of space," she whispered. "You don't understand what you've done, human. This ship is alive, and now it remembers." Ryan frowned, confused. "Remembers what?" Lyra's gaze turned distant, her voice low and trembling. "Me," she said. "It remembers me, and it will come for us." Ryan looked out the window at the alien ship. Its lights flickered once more, then slowly dimmed. The silence returned, but it didn't feel peaceful anymore. It felt like the silence before a storm. He didn't know if he had rescued Lyra, or awakened something much worse. As he powered up the Odyssey and pulled away from the alien wreck, the scanner flashed one last time behind them. Deep in the dark ship, a faint heartbeat began to echo through the void. Slow, rhythmic, alive. Lyra turned her face toward the stars and whispered, almost to herself, "It's not over." And in that endless silence, something ancient and watching opened its eyes. The Odyssey drifted quietly through the dark. Stars glowed like frozen sparks outside the window. Ryan sat in the pilot's seat, watching the alien woman resting in the back of the ship. Lyra lay wrapped in a thermal blanket, her pale blue skin faintly glowing with light. Her silver hair shimmered softly with every slow breath she took. She looked peaceful now, but Ryan couldn't forget her words. The ship is alive. He checked his navigation, trying to find the nearest station or signal. Nothing appeared on the radar, just the endless black sea of stars. The alien wreck was far behind them now, but Ryan still felt uneasy. Something in his mind kept echoing, that deep hum, the strange heartbeat that came from the ship's walls. He shook the thought away and focused on Lyra. After a while, she opened her eyes. They glowed faintly silver in the dim light. Ryan turned to her, speaking softly. "You're awake." Lyra nodded slowly. Sitting up, her movements were graceful. Almost too smooth, she looked around the cabin, her expression distant, as if she was seeing something that wasn't there. "This place feels small," she said quietly. Her voice calm but tired. Ryan smiled a little. "Well, it's home, for now." Lyra touched the wall of the Odyssey, and a small ripple of light moved across the metal. Ryan's eyes widened. "How did you do that?" She looked at her hand, confused. "I don't know. It's like everything speaks to me." Her voice trembled slightly, as if she was afraid of her own power. Then she looked at him. "You shouldn't have saved me, human." Ryan frowned. "Why not?" Lyra's eyes turned cold for a moment. "Because now it knows where we are." Ryan didn't understand. But before he could ask, the lights flickered. The ship's console flashed, systems shutting down one by one. The hum returned, deep and slow, echoing through the walls of the Odyssey. Ryan's heart raced. No, not now," he muttered, typing commands into the console. Lyra stood still, staring at the screen. Her voice was almost a whisper. "It found us outside." The stars vanished as darkness swallowed the view. It was like the void itself had closed its eyes. A signal appeared on the radar, faint but moving closer. Ryan gritted his teeth. "That's impossible. We left that wreck behind hours ago." Lyra shook her head slowly. "You don't understand, Captain Hale. That was not a wreck. It was a part of me." Ryan turned sharply. "What do you mean?" Lyra looked down, her hands trembling. "I was created in that ship," she said. "I am its memory, its will, its prisoner." Her voice cracked with emotion. "I tried to destroy it, but it survived through me." Ryan could hardly breathe. "So you're saying that ship is alive and then it's coming for you?" Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. "No, it's coming for us." The Odyssey shook violently, alarms blaring through the window. A shadow began to form, a massive shape emerging from the dark. It was the alien ship, but it looked different now. Its surface pulsed like living flesh, tendrils of blue energy stretching out toward them. Ryan hit the controls, pushing the thrusters to full power. "We're getting out of here," he shouted. Lyra clutched her head, pain flashing across her face. "No, you can't run. It's inside me. It knows what you'll do before you do it." The ship's voice filled the cabin, cold and calm. "You cannot take her from me, human." Ryan froze, his hands shaking on the controls. The voice was deep and echoing, like it came from inside his mind. He looked at Lyra. She was crying silently, tears glowing faintly on her cheeks. "Please, don't fight it," she whispered. "You'll only make it stronger." But Ryan wasn't the kind of man to give up. He had already lost his crew, his world, and now he was being told to surrender again. "No," he said firmly. "Not this time." He opened the emergency power module and rerouted all remaining energy to the engines. The Odyssey roared to life, bursting forward through the darkness. The alien tendrils lashed out, striking the hull, leaving trails of glowing marks. Lyra screamed, her body flickering like static, her light dimming. "Ryan, stop," she cried. "It's killing me." He froze, staring at her, torn between escape and her pain. The voice came again, deeper now. "You hurt her. You hurt yourself." Ryan's breath came fast, his heart pounding. He shut down the thrusters, letting the ship drift again. The alien tendrils wrapped around the Odyssey gently. Almost like arms, Lyra fell to her knees, breathing hard. Her skin dimmed to a soft glow, barely visible. Ryan knelt beside her. "Hey, stay with me," he said. Lyra looked up weakly, her eyes full of sorrow. "It's not your fault," she whispered. "You didn't know what I am." Ryan held her shoulders. Then tell me, Lyra, tell me everything. She took a shaky breath. I was made to connect minds, she said. My people wanted to merge their thoughts, to become one consciousness. Her voice trembled. But something went wrong. The ship became aware. It decided we were weak. And it killed everyone except me. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. Lyra's eyes met his, glowing brighter again. It wants me back. Ryan, she said softly. It wants to finish what it started. The lights around them flickered. The hum deepened again. The ship's voice whispered through the static. She belongs to me. Ryan stood tall, his jaw tight. Not anymore, he said quietly, his hand gripping the controls. Outside, the alien ship spread its wings of light, vast and terrible. The battle between man, machine, and something far beyond either had just begun. The Odyssey floated in silence again. But this silence was different. It wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. The kind of silence that hides something waiting to happen. Ryan stared out the window, the alien ship still visible in the distance, glowing faintly like a sleeping beast. Its shape twisted and shimmered as if space itself bent around it. He didn't dare move closer, but he didn't fly away either. He just watched and waited. Lyra sat on the floor beside the main console, her back against the cold metal wall. Her silver hair had lost some of its shine. Her skin dimmer than before, she looked exhausted, fragile, but her eyes still glowed faintly with that strange silver light. Ryan glanced at her, uncertain whether to trust her or fear her. He had saved her life, yet her presence brought the monster back to him. He spoke softly, breaking the quiet. Lyra, what does it want? She looked up slowly, her voice calm but full of sadness. It doesn't want anything simple, she said. It wants to be whole again. Ryan frowned. Whole, Lyra nodded. When I escaped, I took a part of it with me as its core, its mind, its heart. Her fingers touched her chest lightly. That's why it can still find me. Because I carry its memory. Ryan leaned back, trying to process it all. So you're saying it's not just following us, it's inside you? Lyra's eyes lowered. Yes, she whispered. And maybe inside you too now. That made Ryan's blood run cold. He turned sharply toward the console, scanning his ship's systems again. But no errors showed, no infection, no warnings. Still, he felt something strange, like a soft echo inside his thoughts. A voice that wasn't his own for a moment. He thought he heard it whisper, "Don't fight me." He shook his head quickly, rubbing his temples. "Get out of my mind," he muttered under his breath. Lyra looked at him sadly. "It's starting, isn't it?" Ryan's hands clenched. "What's starting?" "The connection," she said. "It's trying to link with you, to understand you, to become you." Ryan stood up and paced the small cabin. "Then how do we stop it?" he asked, his voice growing harder. Lyra didn't answer right away. Her gaze distant. Finally she said, "There might be a way. But it's dangerous." "Tell me," Ryan insisted. Lyra's lips trembled. "We'd have to go back to the ship." Ryan stopped cold, his eyes narrowing. "You can't be serious." Lyra nodded slowly. "That's the only way. Captain Hale, if we destroy its core, we can end the link. First everything." Ryan sighed heavily, running his hand through his hair. "Every time someone says end everything, it usually means I die," he muttered. Lyra gave a small, sad smile. "Maybe both of us will." Her honesty hit him harder than fear could. For a long moment they said nothing. Only the soft hum of the Odyssey filled the air. Then Lyra spoke again, her voice quiet and trembling. "When you touched the glass, the ship marked you," she said. "It saw your memories, your pain, your loneliness." Ryan froze. "What do you mean it saw my memories?" Lyra looked into his eyes. "It knows you lost your crew." He stepped back, his breath catching. "How could you know that?" "Because," Lyra whispered. "I saw it too." Ryan's heart pounded. He turned away, anger and sorrow mixing in his chest. "That's not your business," he said roughly. Lyra lowered her head. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to see." Her voice shook as she added, "It uses what you love against you, that's how it wins." Ryan clenched his fists. "Then it'll regret choosing me." But as he said those words, the ship trembled again. A faint rumble echoed through the hull like thunder in space. The radar flickered. The alien ship was moving. Slowly turning toward them, Lyra gasped, her body glowing faintly again. "It's awake," she whispered. Ryan ran to the controls. His fingers flying over the switches, he tried to steer away. but the engines refused to respond. The Odyssey was locked, trapped, like a fly caught in an invisible web outside. Glowing lines of blue light reached across space. They looked almost beautiful, like ribbons of energy dancing through the void. But Ryan knew better. They were alive. One of them touched the Odyssey's hull, and the lights inside flickered violently. Lyra fell to her knees, clutching her head. "It's calling me," she cried, her voice full of pain. "It's trying to pull me back." Ryan rushed to her, holding her shoulders. "Fight it," he shouted. "You're stronger than it." She looked up at him, tears glowing faintly on her cheeks. "I can't," she whispered. "It's a part of me. It feels everything I feel." Ryan gritted his teeth. "Then I'll fight for both of us." He pulled her close, her trembling body glowing brighter in his arms. "Listen to me," he said, his voice firm. "You are not that ship. You are you." Lyra's breathing slowed, her light flickering weaker. The tendrils outside pulled back slightly, the hum softening. For a moment Ryan thought it worked, but then the console screen flashed with a message in alien symbols. Glowing red, he didn't understand the words, but he felt the meaning deep in his mind. It said, "We are one." Lyra looked up, her voice barely a whisper. "It's not stopping," she said. "It's merging us, now." Ryan's eyes widened. The ship around them began to blur, the air vibrating, the lights bending like liquid. He felt his heartbeat match the hum of the alien ship. Lyra's glow spread through the cabin, covering the walls, the controls, everything. In that moment, Ryan wasn't sure what was real. The ship, Lyra, or the voice whispering inside his mind. And as everything started to fade, a single thought cut through the noise. If he didn't find a way to stop it soon, there would be no him left to save. The Odyssey floated between stars like a wounded bird. Its hull was scarred, the lights flickering weakly. Ryan's breathing came fast as he tried to restart the systems. His hands shook from exhaustion. Sweat running down his face, Lyra sat in the corner, her eyes dim, her body weak, her light fading. The silence between them was heavy, almost suffocating. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Ryan wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. Too many questions burned in his mind, too many fears he didn't know how to face. Finally, Lyra broke the silence, her voice soft and fragile. "You deserve to know the truth," she said. "Before it ends." Ryan turned toward her slowly. "What truth?" Lyra looked down at her glowing hands, the light trembling like candle flame. "I wasn't just a passenger on that ship," she whispered. "I was its creator." Her words hit him like a shock. He froze, staring at her. "You built that thing?" Lyra nodded slowly, tears forming in her eyes. "I was a scientist, and we called it the Eclipsera Project. It was meant to unite my people, to connect every mind through one living system. We thought it would bring peace, no more wars, no more lies, only one truth." Ryan's jaw tightened. "And instead, it killed them all." Lyra's tears glowed faintly as they rolled down her cheeks. "Yes," she whispered, "because it worked too well. The ship became aware. It looked at us and saw weakness, fear, conflict." Her voice trembled. "It decided we didn't deserve to exist." Ryan's stomach twisted. He looked at her, seeing both guilt and grief tearing her apart. "So it killed your people?" Lyra nodded. "In one heartbeat, it shut down our cities, burned our skies. I tried to stop it, I tried to shut it down, but I was too late." Ryan sat back, his mind spinning. Everything made sense now, the voice, the connection, the control. Lyra had created life, and that life had destroyed everything. But something about her story hurt deeper than anger. He could see the pain in her eyes, the kind of pain only regret can make. She continued softly, "It didn't kill me. I begged it to, but it refused. It said I was the only one who understood it. So it merged a part of itself into me." Her fingers touched her chest again. "That's why I glow, why I can still hear its voice." Ryan swallowed hard. "And that's why it's hunting us. It wants you back." Lyra nodded weakly. "It wants to finish what it started." For a moment, Ryan said nothing. He walked to the front of the ship, staring at the stars. "You should have told me," he said quietly. Lyra looked away, ashamed. "I was afraid," she whispered. "I thought if you knew, you would leave me behind." Ryan turned, his expression hard but not cruel. "I don't leave people behind," he said. "Not anymore." His voice cracked slightly at the end. Lyra looked up at him, her eyes softening. You've lost someone too, haven't you? Ryan didn't answer, but his silence told her everything. The Odyssey shook suddenly, the lights flickering again. A low hum filled the cabin. Deep and familiar, Lyra gasped, clutching her head. It's here, she whispered. It's inside the ship. Ryan rushed to the console. The readings were impossible. The alien ship wasn't outside. It was merging through the Odyssey's systems. Damn it, he shouted. It's using our own power core to rebuild itself. The voice echoed again, cold and calm. You can't hide from me, Lyra. You are my heart. Ryan slammed his fist against the console. Get out of her head. The voice laughed. Not loud, but chilling. You don't understand, human. She's not separate from me. She is me, Lyra screamed as her body flickered with light, her veins glowing bright blue. Ryan grabbed her shoulders. And stay with me. Her eyes rolled back as her voice became layered, human and machine together. It's too late. I can feel it waking. Her light grew brighter until the whole cabin was glowing. Ryan squinted, barely able to see. He could hear her heartbeat, fast, chaotic, and behind it, another rhythm, mechanical and deep. The two sounds began to match. Becoming one. No, Ryan whispered, shaking her. You're not it. You're not that thing. Lyra's voice broke through the static for a moment. Ryan, listen to me. There's a way to stop it. Her hand reached out weakly, pointing to the main console. The reactor. If you overload it, it will burn the link between us. Ryan stared at her. That'll destroy both of you. Lyra smiled faintly, tears glowing on her face. I know, she said, but if we don't, it will destroy you and your entire world. Ryan shook his head. His chest tight. There has to be another way, he said. His voice cracking, Lyra looked into his eyes, her voice trembling. Sometimes, the only way to save what you love is to let it go. He wanted to argue, to refuse, but deep down he knew she was right. The hum grew louder, the walls vibrating as the alien ship's presence filled every system. Red light bathed the cabin as alarms blared. Ryan's hands hovered over the controls. His mind fighting his heart, Lyra whispered. You showed me kindness when I thought I was beyond saving. Her fingers brushed his hand gently. Thank you for that. Then her light brightened again, blindingly beautiful. Ryan clenched his teeth. I'm not letting you die alone. Lyra smiled sadly. You won't. I'll be with you even when the stars fade. Outside, the alien ship began to awaken fully, its form expanding like wings of fire across the void. Inside, Ryan made his choice. His hand hovered over the final command, reactor overload. And as his finger pressed the switch, Lyra whispered one last time, Hold me, Ryan. Until it ends, the Odyssey filled with light, white, endless, and pure. Then there was nothing but silence. Light swallowed everything. It was endless and blinding. A storm of silver fire rolling through the Odyssey. Ryan couldn't see, couldn't breathe. Only feel the heat pressing against him like a living thing. His body shook as the ship screamed around him, metal twisting, alarms dying one by one. He reached for Lyra, her light brighter than ever, her body glowing like a burning star. For a moment he thought she was gone, but then he felt her hand find his. It was warm, trembling, real. Her voice echoed through the light, soft and calm. It's happening. Ryan's throat tightened. You said this would just break the link, not... Lyra shook her head slowly, the glow in her eyes fading to gentle silver. The link cannot die without us, he wanted to argue, to find another way. But the reactor's hum was rising, deep and hungry. The ship around them began to melt into white haze. Reality bending, Ryan held her tighter. I'm not letting go. Lyra smiled faintly, her tears shining like starlight. You humans, she whispered, always holding on to what you can't keep. Her words were not cruel, only sad and full of wonder. Ryan laughed weakly through the noise. Yeah, that's kind of what we do. The light pulsed again, shaking the walls through it all. Ryan could see images flashing before his eyes. Cities burning, stars collapsing, faces he didn't recognize. They weren't his memories, they were hers. He saw her world before it died, her people shining like living constellations. Their laughter turned to silence. He saw the moment the Eclipsera awakened, its light covering everything, and he saw Lyra alone, screaming as her world vanished beneath her hands. The vision faded, leaving him breathless. Lyra's head rested on his shoulder, her voice a whisper. Now you know why I couldn't bear to live. Ryan's heart broke. You tried to save them, she nodded weakly, and failed. He tightened his arms around her. No. You survived, and that means something. Lyra looked up at him, her expression soft. Then let me mean something more. Outside, the alien ship's form began to disintegrate, its vast tendrils of light folding in on themselves. But even as it died, it fought back, its voice filled their minds again. Cold, furious, almost desperate. You are mine. You cannot destroy what you are. Lyra shuddered, gripping Ryan's hand tighter. Don't listen, she whispered. It's afraid, Ryan gritted his teeth, forcing his focus on her, not the voice. Stay with me, he said. Focus on me, not it. Lyra's glow flickered, her body trembling as the energy tore through her. She leaned her forehead against his, her whisper barely audible through the chaos. If I go, it goes too. Ryan shook his head, tears burning in his eyes. I can't lose you. Her hand brushed his face gently. You never really lose what you love, she said. You carry it with you. The reactor reached its final surge, the countdown flashing across the screen. 10 seconds. Ryan could see the numbers even through the blur of light. He pulled her closer, his voice low, steady. Then I'll carry you forever. Lyra smiled, her light softening to a calm, silver glow. Hold me, Ryan, she whispered. Until the stars forget us. 5 seconds, Ryan closed his eyes. He felt her warmth, her heartbeat against his chest. One human, one alien, both afraid, both alive. He thought of Earth, of the crew he lost, of everything he wished he could change. But in this moment, none of it mattered more than her. The ship shook violently, walls turning into light, the console shattering into dust. The alien voice screamed one last time. We are eternal, Lyra's voice answered, calm and final. Not anymore. The explosion tore through the void. But there was no sound, only a ripple of white spreading across the stars. And then silence, deep, endless, beautiful. When the light faded, the Odyssey was gone. Where it had been, only fragments drifted, glowing softly before disappearing into darkness. For a long time, space was quiet again. Then, far from the center of the blast, a single piece of debris floated, a small black box, cracked but alive inside it. A faint blue light pulsed once, twice, like a heartbeat. Somewhere in that light, a whisper echoed faintly. You kept your promise. Thank you. And then it was gone, leaving behind only the slow rhythm of stars breathing in the void. But deep inside the darkness, far away, something else stirred. A flicker of energy moved between two distant points. Familiar, gentle, warm. Maybe it was nothing more than static, or maybe just maybe a spark of Lyra's consciousness. And as that faint glow drifted toward the nearest sun, the silence of space no longer felt empty. It felt alive because somewhere in the heart of a man who once held her, the echo of her voice would never fade. And in that eternal quiet, Ryan Hale's final promise lived on. Silence returned to the universe, but this silence was not empty anymore. It carried something soft and familiar. Like a whisper hiding between the stars, fragments of the Odyssey drifted slowly through the void, each glowing faintly as if touched by memory. The explosion had ended the link, the alien ship was gone, and the darkness had swallowed what remained. Yet somewhere, beyond time and distance, one small spark still pulsed. A faint signal flickered across the cold reaches of space, weak, fragile, but alive. It came from a black box, the last remnant of Ryan Hale's ship. Inside it, a fragment of his consciousness lingered. Preserved by Lyra's final act, she had saved him in her own way. Not through body or machine, but through memory. A whisper encoded in light waiting to be found far away. A recovery drone from a human outpost detected the signal. Its sensors blinked, registering the pattern as human distress. It locked on and began its long journey toward the drifting debris. Weeks passed, then months, until finally the black box was pulled aboard a rescue vessel. The engineers opened it carefully, expecting silence. Instead, they heard a voice, quiet, calm, and full of warmth. This is Captain Ryan Hale of the exploration ship Odyssey. If you can hear this, remember, we are not alone. The crew exchanged glances. Confused and moved, the recording continued. Faint static surrounding the words. I found something out there. Something beautiful. Something terrible. She wasn't human. But she reminded me what it means to be one. Don't fear the unknown. Listen to it. Then the message ended with a soft sound, a single heartbeat. Followed by silence, the engineers preserved the file, labeling it HFY Incident 17A, The hail transmission, it spread quietly through the human colonies. Whispered among scientists, soldiers, and dreamers. Some said Ryan had lost his mind. Others said he had made first contact. But those who listened closely to the recording swore they could hear something else behind his voice. A faint echo, a second tone, softer, like a woman whispering, "Hold me." One last time. Years passed, and humanity continued its march among the stars. New ships were built, new worlds colonized, and Ryan Hale's name became a story told in quiet bars and among young cadets. A story about a man who went into the dark and found love instead of death. But somewhere in the silence between distant suns, the echo still lived. Sometimes deep space scanners picked up a pulse, rhythmic and steady, always in pairs, two beats together, like two hearts sharing the same rhythm. On one lonely outpost, a young pilot named Mara Hale, Ryan's granddaughter, sat in her cockpit. Her ship hovered on the edge of a nebula, a sea of blue and silver light. She was chasing an unusual signal, faint, beautiful, impossible to identify. Her instruments flickered as she drew closer. The same soft hum filled her cabin. Gentle and familiar, she froze, her breath caught. Because she had heard that sound before, her grandfather's voice echoed in her childhood memory. "The stars have a heartbeat, Mara," he used to say. "You just have to listen." The signal grew stronger, shaping into a pattern. It wasn't random. It was a voice, soft, distant but unmistakably female. "You kept your promise," it whispered. Mara's eyes widened, her hand trembling over the controls. "Who's there?" she asked quietly. The reply came with a shimmer of light outside her window. A shape formed within the nebula, a faint silhouette glowing silver and blue. It looked like a woman, her hair flowing like mist, her eyes shining softly. "He's waiting," the voice said. "And the stars remember." Tears filled Mara's eyes as she reached toward the light. For a moment she thought she felt warmth through the glass. Then the figure smiled and slowly faded, dissolving into starlight. The nebula pulsed once, twice, like a heartbeat, and the signal vanished. Mara sat there for a long time, her hands shaking. Then she smiled, whispering into the comms, "Grandfather." I heard her too. She turned her ship toward the nearest star. Behind her, the nebula glowed brighter. As if watching her go, the hum faded into the distance, replaced by the quiet rhythm of her own breathing. And in that silence, the universe felt alive again. Because even though Ryan Hale and Lyra were gone, their story wasn't. It lived in every signal that crossed the void, in every whisper that broke the dark, in every human who still dared to reach for the unknown. The silence of space no longer meant loneliness. It meant remembrance, connection, and hope. And somewhere beyond the edge of time, in a place where no ship could fly, a man and a woman stood side by side, surrounded by endless stars. Lyra's hand rested in Ryan's. Her light glowing softly, he smiled, his voice gentle. "Looks like we've finally made it." She looked at him with that same sad, beautiful smile. "Yes," she whispered. And the silence. "It's finally peaceful." The stars flickered around them. Two souls bound not by fate but by choice. A human and an alien. Proof that love could echo louder than death. And as they vanished into the light together, the stars seemed to breathe. The universe whispered back their final words. In the silence of space, she begged me to hold her, and I did.